All right, the name Sarah Shourd may be familiar to you. In 2009, Sarah and her then fiance, Shane Bauer, now husband, and their friend Joshua Fattal were arrested and jailed while hiking in a border region of Iran. Now, Sarah spent 410 days in solitary confinement before negotiations freed her, and eventually Shane and Josh as well.
Her experience in an Iranian prison prompted her to take a look at solitary confinement here in the U.S., and that's led to her most recent project, The Box, a play about solitary confinement. It just opened in San Francisco, and today in the 4x4, we're taking 4 minutes during the 4 o'clock to learn more about the play, Sarah's research, and her experience. And Sarah Shourd joins us right now. Sarah, to set this up, obviously you had to go through the traumatic experience you did in Iran by being held there. What's your takeaway from that experience and being in solitary confinement?
I mean, my takeaway is that the practice of solitary confinement, which is far more widespread in our country than it is in Iran or really any other country in the world, doesn't do anything to rehabilitate people. Solitary confinement actually attacks the frontal lobe, the part of our brains that helps us make good decisions. So people that don't know how to deal with their anger or conflict in ways other than violence are being put in conditions that can make them more violent. And then they're being dumped on society.
So besides your personal experience being here in the States as part of the research for the play, you went out to other prisons here in America. How many people did you talk to? How many inmates did you talk to? And what did you learn?
I visited 14 facilities around the country, and I participated in 12 in-depth letter correspondences over a period of 6 months intensively and then 2 years. And I was again and again impressed. I mean, these are people that have made mistakes. They're flawed human beings, but I was overwhelmed by their humanity. People that would make me laugh when they're literally in a cage and I'm, feeding them Reese's through a slot. And a lot of those jokes I carried with me back and integrated them into the play, and now hopefully 5,000 people will be laughing at their jokes in San Francisco this month.
There's been a lot of criticism of solitary confinement, particularly at the Pelican Bay facility up on the North Coast here in California. But prison officials will argue that they don't have any choice. These are the worst of the worst. They're continually causing trouble, instigating violence. They're convicted of serious felony crimes. What's the alternative in your view after doing your research?
It's a great question. I mean, solitary confinement, I believe, sort of enables mass incarceration. We have far too many people locked up, and we don't have the resources to rehabilitate them, so we're warehousing them, and then we're releasing them, which just continues this vicious cycle. I mean, as far as an alternative to solitary confinement, it shouldn't exist, at least not long-term solitary confinement. I can understand isolating someone for very brief periods while you figure out how to deal with the conflict and address it. But, I mean, what's the alternative to rape? What's the alternative to murder? These things have no place in our society.
What's your goal with the play? Do you want to take it across the country, or what's next?
Yeah, I mean, this is far more than a California problem. There's a really strong movement in California, and we've made some progress through lawsuits and activism and resistance. The hunger strike that happened here 5 years ago is one of the inspirations for my play. My play is about resistance in an isolation pod. But this needs to travel. So if I sell out this month and the buzz spreads, I think other theaters around the country will want to take it up themselves. One
other thing, I was looking at some of the clips on the website about the play, and you would think this topic would be extremely depressing, isolated in a solitary confinement, but there's a lot of humor in there, right? It's more than that.
Well, humor is how people survive. The characters, 40% of people that go into solitary confinement are mentally ill to begin with. In my opinion, they have no reason to be in prison. Mentally ill people should be treated for that. But they're put in solitary confinement because there's no other way to deal with them. But there are also extraordinary people that are put in for their political beliefs because they're resisting the inhumane conditions they're being subjected to. And several of the characters in my play are modern day heroes that are incredibly resilient. And yeah, they have to have some kind of perspective and some kind of release. So,
had you ever put on a production on stage before?
No,
in your life?
I mean, I'm primarily a journalist, and but I felt like, first of all, fictionalizing the story was the right thing to do because I'm not impartial, obviously. I mean, this is not a didactic play. I'm not telling anyone what to think. I'm just giving them stories and trying to humanize the people subjected to this practice.
By doing that, have you learned something about yourself through this process? Of doing something you've never done before?
So much. What have I learned about myself through this process? I mean, it's sort of like having a superpower, the closest I've ever had to have something in your imagination, something that I traveled so hard and also my own, you know, ordeal, worked so hard to survive, but then really something that I came up with in my mind, seeing it come to life is incredibly powerful, and being able to share it with so many people is like nothing.
Are you hoping to get prison people, corrections officers, to see it, and do you think they'll get anything out of this?
I think they would get a lot out of this. A lot of prison officials across the country have come out against this practice, saying that it actually makes more danger for guards. There are studies that show that the more people that are in solitary confinement, violence in the prison overall goes up. The way to make violence go down in prisons is to rehabilitate people, to give them a way to productively fill their time, and that's not what we're doing. So yeah, I invite that. I invite people of all walks of life. I think this is something that we can all get behind.
Well, it's very interesting, and congratulations. It opened on Friday, and it does play the rest of the month. Sarah Shourd is the writer of the box. It is a play about solitary confinement. You can find out more about the play and get tickets to see it at Z Space in San Francisco. Just go to KTVU.com and click on the web links tab right there on the top of our homepage.
Yes.
Sarah, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Good luck.